Hey, welcome back to the Common Sense OT Security webcast. Now in black and white, you see we go all the way to make this show entertaining and also aesthetically pleasing. Today, we'll talk about the question, has OT threat detection failed? And I'm picking up a LinkedIn poll that I did a week ago. And the poll simply was about the question, OT threat detection relying on passive sniffing and network anomaly detection has failed, true or false? And as you can see, the audience is mixed. So it's almost a tie with one vote actually more in favor of true. That is true. OT threat detection has failed. And just to be clear, no OT-base employee has participated in this poll. I checked it twice. But one Nozomi employee did. And so, Michael, you are exposed. And so, but it didn't help. It didn't work. So still the majority in this poll thinks OT threat detection has failed. But to be honest, I didn't expect the result to be that close, just because, let's not fool ourselves, OT threat detection is by far the predominant OT security approach. So when it comes to products, right? OT security products, the vast majority of OT security solutions is OT threat detection based on passive sniffing and network anomaly detection. So I did not expect such a result. I was expecting much more respondents being in favor of OT threat detection, if only for the fact that they're using the stuff now for a couple of years. But so in that way, the result is surprising to me, maybe also for you. And this is why I thought, well, let's have a discussion about this. Why could we arrive at such a divided, a split audience where we know as a fact that several of those, if not many, who responded, yes, that's true, OT threat detection has failed, they're actually using these products. And certainly now we go into speculation, hypothesis, theory, because the poll is not about the reasons. Maybe we will do subsequent polls, but let's just try to explain why about half of those who will most likely use that product category thinks that it has failed. So I give you a couple of opinions here, a couple of potential explanations. First, let's not forget what is basically the value prop of an OT threat detection solution. It would be that you will be alerted of potentially malicious traffic in your OT networks. That is the predominant value proposition. And by alerting you about that malicious traffic or potentially malicious traffic, then you have the opportunity to act. And now certainly the argument can be made when you look at all those alerts that these solutions generate, almost 100% are false positives. And I think that is something that the users are starting to realize, and they are not very appreciative of that. Because at the end of the day, you find yourself wasting a lot of analyst time by trying to figure out, well, you know, this man in the middle attack that my threat detection solution has alerted me about. Where is the man in the middle? What's going on here, right? And that is something that the product doesn't tell you. So that is where the analyst comes in. And the analyst might just spend, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. And then he or she will tell you, no, let's that's a false positive. And I'm just speculating here. If that happens day in, day out over years, then somebody might question the wisdom of such a product, because at the end of the day, it's just going to waste time. However, this leads us to an interesting, in my opinion, interesting thought experiment. Now, just imagine what would happen if, probably because you're also introducing AI, right? So if the validity of these alerts gets much higher, like every single alert is real, what would that result in? I can tell you right away, you would no longer see alerts, because let's just stick with that thought experiment here. The AI would eliminate all the false positives. Then certainly, sooner or later, somebody would say, well, no, apparently there are no intrusions, so we don't need that product anymore. Certainly a naive person would say, and the more savvy person would say, no, we still need to be alert. However, others would say, no, we have seen it now for a couple of years, 0 alerts, let's throw the thing out. and that would be unfavorable for the vendors. So for this psychological reason, you can bet that the vendors will do everything in their power to make sure that you will always see some level of noise. You will always see a constant stream of alerts, because otherwise it would lead you to the idea, well, we don't need that thing anymore. Let's kick it out. Let's not renew the subscription. So that is just as a means of persuasion that you certainly must not discontinue the subscription. You must keep using that thing, because, well, who knows? Maybe that next alert about the ransomware attack on your, I don't know, on your PowerFlex, maybe it's real. and that is going to keep your analysts busy. And why not? What would the analysts say if there are no more alerts, right? They would probably lose their jobs. So it's not in their best interest. So this is what I find rather interesting. When you consider the fundamental value proposition of a threat detection solution, and basically the alerts are false positive. I could even turn this thing around and ask you, well, how many true positives have we seen over the last couple of years since these products are installed at scale? How many true positives? And then certainly the vendors will make the point, there are all the things that we have discovered and prevented attacks from happening, etc. And I have to tell you, I find that rather unconvincing, because I know as a fact that if there was any solid evidence, or we have found that attacker, finally we caught the Chinese red-handed with our anomaly detection. That would be front and center all over the conference floors, in their marketing collateral, etc. But that did not happen. So that is, if you think about it, I think rather surprising that there are no compelling, huge success stories for this type of product, which I would certainly expect given the market penetration, given the billions, given the billions of dollars in funding that this particular industry has received. Would have expected those huge, compelling success stories, but I didn't see those, right? Just to the contrary, the vendors are still pointing to things like, oh, the Colonial Pipeline attack, the Norsk Hydro attack. So all those attacks that did not involve a single piece of OT equipment. So that for me it's just an indicator. I might be wrong, but I take this as an indication that they don't have these huge success stories. Okay, and then certainly what we are also seeing over the last couple of years is a shift in the value prop. So, and I take that as a result of the primary value prop of, no, we detect the hackers when they strike. That didn't really catch on that much. And the shift is, but we also produce your OT asset inventory. We throw in OT asset management with obsolescence management and also the vulnerability management. And this is where things become really, really fishy, really fishy. Because let's not fool ourselves. If you're using an OT threat detection product, you will have seen they do have this functional area. They call that an OT asset inventory, but it's not really usable because the information that I get is not it's not reliable enough. It's not detailed enough. And I mean, the usual suspects, they can call that extreme visibility all day long, but it doesn't change the fact. And there are a couple of areas where you can see that rather quickly. So, for example, when it comes to Windows PCs or even Linux PCs, right? So when you have to rely on passive sniffing, my friends, you will never be able to successfully inventory your Windows boxes. And that is a problem, in my opinion, because from an OT security angle, this is the entry point. So this is the juicy target that in today's world, where ransomware is the predominant threat, where you will see shit hitting the fan. And so therefore, if there is one type of systems that you absolutely want to inventory and to have a very good grip on, that's your Windows boxes. So your ransomware will not target your EN2T Ethernet module in your Rockwell control system rack. There is no ransomware that does that. If only because there is nothing to encrypt, right? So if you are worried about encryption and extortion, that is going to happen on your engineering systems that happen to run on Windows computers, right? So this is absolutely something where you want to be precise and where you want to be comprehensive. And this is what you don't get from a product that relies on passive sniffing. And then from there, problems escalate because, let me put it in very simple terms, a comprehensive OT asset inventory is the foundation for everything else, like the vulnerability management, etc. And it's not so difficult to understand because, so let's just stick with the Windows boxes because, as I said, they have a very, very important relationship to ransomware attacks. If the only thing that you know about a Windows box is best case which Windows version it's running, then you can't tell me anything about vulnerabilities, right? So you might tell me, as some of those solutions do, there is a bunch of vulnerabilities on there because we think it's Windows 7, and Windows 7 is outdated, so you will no longer be able to patch it. Hence, there is going to be a bunch of vulnerabilities on there. Yeah, obviously. But my friends, that's not good enough. You want to know exactly which vulnerabilities, because you might have become aware that this particular ransomware operator is actively exploiting CVE, I don't know, 2022 / blah, 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 right? So then you want to know right away which boxes exactly are affected by that particular CVE. That is something that you must know for your, I don't know, you can even call that an incident response exercise, if you will, right? And for that, you must have the detailed configuration of that PC. You must know, just as an example, of about all those pigs, those security pigs that are installed on those PCs, right? Like the outdated Google Chrome versions, or Microsoft Edge versions, or Adobe Reader, Adobe Flash Player, right? All those applications that drag thousands of vulnerabilities behind them. You must know that. Otherwise, your vulnerability management case is lost, and even your incident management is lost. You're fooling yourself and your management too. So that is just how should I call that? They're promising something, those products that rely on passive sniffing, that they cannot keep. And for technical reasons, it's impossible. They cannot keep that promise. They cannot deliver. That doesn't prevent the vendors from telling you, oh, we also got the vulnerability management, right? And you also got the obsolescence management and the this and the that, but it's just in name. So they just throw the terms out there, but they don't deliver the functionality because they can't. And that is not because they lack the talent or something, or the manpower. All these vendors are well staffed. I'm confident they have a lot of absolutely talented people. But at the end of the day, it goes down to the technology that you're using, my friends. If you use passive sniffing only, you won't get it. You won't get that OT asset inventory that you need for use cases such as OT vulnerability management, or OT incident management, or even OT obsolescence management, because everything depends on that comprehensive and reliable OT asset inventory. Okay, how can you get such an inventory? Well, what we're proposing. Let me show it to you once more. So you don't even have to do the remote network discovery, which so many people are so afraid of. It always blows my mind. So we have a majority of OT security experts who are more scared about the proposition to actively probe their network than they are scared of the hackers. Isn't that rather funny, right? So it always blows my mind. But anyhow, so let's just assume you're one of those who's so scared. No, we don't do any active. Then the alternative is you install such an agent. And also, before you freak out, the agent, no, we can't use an agent. Hear me out. We'll get to the next piece when you think you can't use an agent. So this is the user interface of the OT-based discovery agent. So once you install that on a Windows box, you will see all those details, right? All the installed software, all the installed patches, a timestamp when the software was last executed. You see any shared folders. You see memory utilization, network exposure, everything. You even see the damn data flow. All right, and that gets us to threat detection in a second. But I just want to give you an idea. This is all the stuff you need, friends. This is what you need for your OT vulnerability management and for other use cases such as obsolescence management. If you don't have that level of detail, your OT security cause is lost. You have You don't have a blind spot. You have a blind, just like a big landscape, right? It's all fuzzy because you just guess. Oh, there seems to be a Windows PC, but we don't know anything more about that. So now the best news is, as you probably have heard already, since I've talked about that in last week's webcast, this is freeware. You can download it from our website right away. Then install it on your Windows boxes for free. And now, if you can't install any software because your automation vendor doesn't like that, then there is an alternative. And the alternative is a mobile version. So let's also check that out. So if you go to our website, lenkner.com, this is the homepage. And here where you see download, you click on download. Here you can download the Discovery Agent that I've shown you just a second ago. And then there's this mobile version, okay? So this is for all of you who are afraid, no, if I'm going to install anything, my automation vendor will beat me with a stick. No, I've had that before. No, I don't want to have that experience again. Okay, then you just copy that mobile Discovery version on a USB stick and execute it from the USB stick. As simple as that. And then you also see all the data, as in that screenshot that you see here. Okay, so now from there, the only thing that's missing here compared to the agent is the data flow, right? Because if you want to see the data flow, you must have a continuous recording. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. So for a snapshot, data flow doesn't make sense. And therefore, you lose that information. But however, you see all the installed software, you see last execution time, you see the file shares, everything, right? And also download it from our website for free, not time limited, not anything, right? And this gives you insight into your exact Windows PC configuration. Okay, now let's get back to threat detection, because in my opinion, and certainly you can call me biased, but in my opinion, if you want to do any, let's just say, analysis of potentially malicious data flow. Now let me propose a mind-blowing idea. You don't need deep packet inspection, friends. You don't need it. Why? Because you are going further than you would need to, right? So the idea that you will only see an actual cyber-physical attack in the payload of the network packets, that is nonsense. You will see it much earlier. You will see it in the data flow, my friends. And let's go back to the diagram or to the screenshot that I showed earlier. So here you see the data flow for this particular Windows PC, okay? And what do you see right away? You see this big, large, orange thing there. So that's a Sankey diagram where we visualize traffic destinations in three categories. So we have traffic within the same subnet, we have traffic that's routed into other private subnets, and then we have traffic that goes to the public internet. And this is the stuff in orange. And the bigger the bar is, that tells you, oh, there's a lot of traffic going on, right? And any time where you see something like that, my friends, you don't need any deep packet inspection anymore, because this tells you right away, exposed to the internet, that is not a good idea in the OT environment, and therefore, you would certainly act on that right away. you would examine that particular machine and tell the user, you're not supposed to surf the internet from this engineering system, or whatever it might be. And you would most likely also make sure that technically this can't happen. So you would probably also have a word with your firewall team, because that should never be possible in an OT environment. So here is what this boils down to. Let's just assume you think, well, threat detection, it's important, it's a good idea. You don't need deep packet inspection, my friends. The data flow tells you a lot. It usually tells you everything you need to know. So let me put it to you in your face. How many cyber physical attacks have we seen where you would have needed the deep packet inspection? I can tell you. Just think about it for a second. I can tell you. Just think very hard. When did we see that? So, tip for you: it's not Stuxnet. No, you would not have detected Stuxnet in the data flow or in the deep packet inspection for a simple reason, because it was all sitting on a controller. So there was nothing that you could have seen with your DPI. So how many attacks have we seen where the DPI would have helped? I can tell you, we have seen that in the 2015 attack against Ukraine. There you would have been able to see, that doesn't look right. No, alert. Okay. However, you might also have been able to see that just by looking at the data flow. I'm just hypothesizing here, but that is the one attack on the record globally in the history of automation. And my argument here, to be very clear, my argument here is, if you want to optimize, then the question always is, well, if I reduce my target set, will I still be able to get the majority of the results? So that's called the Pareto principle, named after an Italian statistician called Alfredo Pareto. And that's so funny, because I know all of my friends in engineering, they know that Pareto principle. Yeah, the IT guys, my friends in IT, probably not. So please look it up, the Pareto principle. In so many cases, you are able to achieve 80% of the results by focusing on 20% of the causes. And this is what we're taking advantage of here. So by just focusing on the data flow, we are able to detect at least 80% of problematic traffic. We don't need the DPI, friends. And certainly the benefit is that both the collection of the data and the analytical procedures of the data is so much simpler. And this is how you achieve efficiency gains. This is what this is all about, because OT security is too expensive. Just I don't need to argue a long time to convince you of that. Just as a thought experiment, think of it this way: if OT security was free, we wouldn't have any problems. We wouldn't have security problems. It's just because it's so expensive. So therefore, what you want to do is identify areas for optimization. And this is one area. You don't need the DPI. The data flow already goes a very long way. And especially if you bring in policies, if you bring in rules, or you declare, no, public internet facing, that's forbidden, right? And then OT base will tell you right away, oh, we have 163 Windows PCs that actually talk to the internet, okay? And then you have something actionable. Okay, So that is what I wanted to tell you. We don't have any question, comments, criticism, so I'll leave it at that. Bye bye, friends.